"You don't have to explain to other black women why your hair is the way it is," she said, "or what a certain word means, or countless other little cultural signifiers. Everybody has a need to just be able to be themselves somewhere, without having to do that translation, and without having to always be on guard to justify yourself." Stevens describes many different safe spaces that are important to her own life: breastfeeding support groups that are explicitly women-only to help new moms feel more comfortable talking openly about their bodies, or hair salons that function as an informally black women-only social space as well as a service. Some safe spaces are intentionally created, like the breastfeeding group. Some groups are exclusive and allow only women or only people of color, for instance, just so that people in those groups can speak more freely about their interests without worrying about whether others will understand what they mean. Other safe spaces emerge organically, like hair salons, gay clubs, or black churches. The shooting at Mother Emanuel in Charleston was also a violation of a safe space, which added another layer of devastation to an already terrible crime. Safe spaces aren't always about literal physical safety from violence. Sometimes they're a refuge, a place to relax. Yet, emotional states are also physical states. Our mental well-being shapes and is shaped by our neural pathways, our digestive tracts, our muscular tensions, our hormones, especially cortisol, the stress hormone, which is associated with poor health outcomes at consistently high levels. And it causes especially poor health outcomes among groups of people who experience systemic discrimination, like racism, which causes the fight-or-flight response to work in low-level, yet incessant overdrive. "No one can live in a constant state of vigilance," Stevens said. "Your body is not designed to do that. The need for safe spaces is the need to literally not have your adrenal system constantly firing at full tilt." Safe spaces made headlines in a negative way recently when controversy over free speech at Yale erupted over some faculty emails about Halloween costumes and cultural sensitivity. Protests at the University of Missouri also caused controversy over the drastic step of forcing out the president, even though black students were responding to serious racist incidents on campus. Commentators like Jonathan Chait worry that political correctness and language police are perverting liberalism. Greg Lukianoff and Jonathan Haidt bemoan the coddling of students on college campuses, citing anecdotes about safe space student groups whose protests have blocked conservative speakers from coming to campus. In a recent graduation speech at Howard University, President Obama rebuked these trends. "You can be completely right, and you still are going to have to engage folks who disagree with you. So don't try to shut folks out. Don't try to shut them down, no matter how much you might disagree with them. There's been a trend around the country of trying to get colleges to disinvite speakers with a different point of view, or disrupt a politician's rally. Don't do that, no matter how ridiculous or offensive you might find the things that come out of their mouths." He didn't use the term safe space, but some conservative commentators crowed that he had rejected the safe space culture. On the right, safe space has become almost as much of a dirty word as political correctness. Some commentators see this culture as worthy of mockery, a sign of liberal intellectual weakness. Some see it as a danger to our society, because we are raising a generation of entitled, infantilized Americans. How will they ever figure out how to toughen up and run the world someday? Some see safe space culture as an even more acute danger, an imminent threat to free speech in a pluralistic society, and even a threat to employment or other ways of life. Some professors say they are terrified that their oversensitive students could force them out of a job. Others see safe spaces as a threat to social movements they care about, fretting that groupthink could get out of control and cause infighting, shatter unity, and derail important goals. Connor Friedersdorf cautions at The Atlantic that the rhetoric of safety could actually backfire on student activists, and that the often messy work of fighting for social change could be undermined by those who insist on living in a mess-free bubble. This dynamic can get tense even among groups who consider themselves allies, working towards similar goals. After Black Lives Matter protesters interrupted a presidential forum with Bernie Sanders and Martin O'Malley at the Netroots Nation political conference, the progressive movement erupted into a mini culture war over whether the protests' tactics were effective or wise, and whose business it really was to judge that. Finally, a lot of tension over identity politics comes from the perception that white men are being discriminated against, or at least treated unkindly, that their views are being dismissed simply because of who they are, or that they are being unfairly blamed on a personal level for the problems that marginalized groups face. There's a perception that call-out culture, or calling people out for saying something problematic or insensitive, has been weaponized, and that a tool intended to curb abuse has itself